What would you do if I told you that I could give you the cure, possible cure for cancer? I could help you reduce the size of those nasty cells that are killing you inside. And what would you also say if I told you that that same cure is costing millions of people their time and money sitting in a jail cell? What I'm talking about is marijuana. And when we think of marijuana, I think there's a standard negative feeling towards it. But what I really want to dig into is the positive things that can come from marijuana, and from not just its medical purposes, but from a recreational side as well. Federally, marijuana is prohibited. It is illegal, and you will be prosecuted for it. But some positives have come of researching into marijuana, and that's what I'm going to dive into now. One of the things is I understand I don't smoke or use marijuana, but I do know quite a few people who do, and I know quite a few caregivers or doctors that are, people who are like the doctors of marijuana. They understand the effects of marijuana on the human body and what it can do. And there are positive effects that we can't find with other drugs even yet, such as the cancer cells being reduced. And you can see that from the businessinsider.com link that I looked up. There's 21 benefits of marijuana. Some of them are linked to cancer, of course. Some of them are linked to Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, anxiety. Actually, personally, I know one person who has terrible vision, and by smoking for the past, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years, his vision has almost gotten back to being 20/20. He can actually see without glasses now, where he couldn't before. It's been repairing him this whole time. Even though everybody thinks it's a negative thing, it's actually been a very positive thing for him, and he's very thankful that he found it and that it does work. There has been many studies that show that it does affect cancer in a positive way. It actually eliminates the growths of cancer. It can even shrink or eliminate tumors, which is almost unheard of because we always wonder what's the cure for cancer. Well, it could be right under our noses, and we wouldn't even known it because we've always been told that marijuana is just a bad thing to do. Secondly, marijuana is a revenue stream, really, and we can see that from Colorado, and now from the recent adoption of it in, I believe it was Oregon and Washington, but specifically Colorado shows that they made $58 million in tax revenue from marijuana sales just in 2014. That's according to CNN Money. And $58 million is actually their low, below what they thought it was going to make. But what you have to think of is $58 million in tax revenue. That is a ton of money. It's not something to just blink an eye at. $58 million, that's road construction. That's not coming out of our tax money. That's paying the people who work for the city and state the right wages. The hard fighting firefighters, hard working policemen, and EMS drivers and EMS personnel. Everything that goes into that. So really, $58 million. Why not make the $58 million? You're not hurting anybody. And to that point, Oregon actually produced a report that shows the negative or deaths caused by marijuana. And what it did is it put it up against other drugs, even though marijuana is not technically a drug in my mind, but it shows that out of all the research they did, they found 0 deaths related to marijuana, directly related to marijuana. They found a few that were somewhat related, but they found none that were directly related to marijuana. Nobody's ever smoked themselves to death with marijuana. Nobody's ever died from smoking marijuana. Maybe from smoking it and then driving, something like like with alcohol. It does affect your body. It does affect the way that you feel and the way you can react. But for the most part, they haven't even found that to be true. I mean, if you think about that, people can drink every day and get behind a car and get into accidents and kill people. Why wouldn't the same amount of people be smoking every day and getting behind a wheel of a car and not killing people? So there probably is a difference there as well. Lastly, we spend a lot of tax money incarcerating people for marijuana, and I think that's a negative, and a backwards movement. When we could be making money on marijuana from tax sales, why are we going backwards and putting people in jail for the same thing? It's not like they produced it to harm somebody. It is a natural plant that just has these natural benefits. So, in conclusion, what I want to get to is that while medical marijuana is great and it has been adopted in quite a few states, I think that medical marijuana should be seriously looked at, especially for cancer patients. Additionally, I think that the federal government should seriously consider making recreational marijuana legal and then taxing it. Because why miss out on that tax opportunity? Why miss out on that revenue stream when it's sitting right there for the taking? And people will pay the money if they can do it legally, if they don't have to be hassled for it. And that's why I think that marijuana is not a drug or a bad thing. It should be considered as a good thing and should be taken into account for both medical and recreation.